You go to any store because you're paying full price, money and coupons which the storekeeper can then take it to a bank and change it. Once you have this system going, and a couple of countries in the world have started on this, the storekeeper has no further reason to turn away a poor person because a poor person is paying the full price. In the form of money and coupons can be changed back into cash. So you will have no incentive to discriminate against the poor, to give them adulterated food. Also, since now the poor person with this coupon or the smart card can go to any store, if one store treats this person badly, he can go to another store and pick it up. This system is not going to plug every problem, but it is going to plug the problem of where you hand over the subsidy to the storekeeper and then tell the storekeeper, hand over the subsidy to the poor, where we know that at least 60% is getting pilfered and going away. That will be plugged. There'll still be the problem of identifying the poor, whom are you giving the coupons and all that we will have to solve, but those problems we have in the current system, so it's not that we will have additional problems for that. In a whole host of design of policy, if you take into account that you are dealing with a system where there is a certain amount of pilferage, people are using their rationality to get around it, and then try to devise the system, I think you can do vastly better. I'm a bit hopeful, I don't know whether it will happen, now that the new food security bill is being talked about, that the reform of the delivery mechanism comes with it. Because to me, yes, we do need to make a promise to people that you will be guaranteed food. Food is too vital and no one should be denied. And unlike many other rights, I'm not in favor of writing down everything as a legal right, because it debases the meaning of the word right. You write it down and then you violate it. Food is something which is possible for India today to guarantee to its vulnerable sections and the poor. So I believe it should be written down. But it's not good enough to write it down as a law. Nor is it good enough to just throw money at it and say, I've given money, I've written it down as a law, now it will be solved. You have to devise a mechanism. That is exactly how it's done. How does it get delivered? And it's not as opaque and impossible as it sounds. You can devise, it will not be foolproof, but you can devise a system which will be better than what it is. And I think those are the kinds of things which can get us to do better policy. I mentioned honesty, integrity. This is a bit of a pet topic of mine, and you'll find a break from the past in this year's economic survey, because I put in a small segment in the economic survey talking about the importance of this. From an individual's point of view, this may not be important, but for a whole collective society, a society that exhibits a higher amount of trust and trustworthiness is a society that tends to do better. There are no cross-country studies. Francis Fukuyama, doing studies of countries, try to show that indeed countries where there is trustworthiness, those countries do better. And I think there is a reason, almost a theoretical reason why that is indeed the case, because economics and successful policy is all to do with trade, barter, exchange. All the time we are cutting deals, and that's the way you do business. You tell some person, I'll deliver iron ore to you, and you deliver steel back to me. I'm going to buy a house by taking a loan from you, you're a bank, and I'm going to pay you back over the next 30 years. These are deals we are cutting, and that's what economic life is all about, contracts and deals being cut between individuals. But the big contracts and deals, of course, you sign and the courts come in and courts enforce them. But there are also lots of small contracts that you shouldn't even call them contracts, it's everyday life. You give someone money and say, come and paint my house, or someone paints your house and next day you pay. One commodity is delivered at one point of time, 2 days later you deliver another commodity back to that person. These are exchanges. You can't write down each of these in a contract. You can't tell a painter that I'm paying you money, we write down a contract and you do it. If you don't, I'll take you to court. It's too cumbersome. If there is basic integrity and honesty in a society, those societies do better. And these things change. In South Korea, there are studies showing that the social norms of integrity and honesty change dramatically. It's very high now. South Korea is very high. These things change. I like to believe, first of all, that making people aware that these elemental human values actually contribute to economic growth and development is extremely important, because being aware, just like you should not smoke in a public place, by drumming this into people's heads, behavior begins to change and people behave differently. Drumming in the importance of honesty and integrity for economic life is, I believe, an important thing to do. And even in dry documents like the economic survey, it's something worth pointing out to. Let me actually just take 5 more minutes, and I know I'm giving you a bit of a disjointed, scattered talk, but I'll try to pull things together a bit better if there is a discussion following this. Let me, since I told Mr. Patnaik when we had a phone call, that I'll actually come back a little bit to the contemporary, very contemporary situation and address, where it's more than these micro design problems. There are macro problems that you have to handle. One, I don't even know whether this is of concern to this audience or not, is during a crisis, international crisis, this is, again, despite India's high growth and good fiscal situation, something you have to be careful about. Oh, thank you so much. You, though I did not speak about it, you read my mind correctly. There are certain things which we take to be benefits, like foreign capital coming in large amounts, which with international crisis, these are international problems that you have to be aware of, but what looks like a benefit at times turns out to be a curse. I don't think that is the case right now. My father's youngest sister, widowed, used to tell me, I was very fond of her, she's no more. When she was moderately old, keeping in very bad health, she, like a good middle-class Bengali woman, she used to eat a lot of sweets. And once she made the statement to me, she said, you know, I don't know why I keep in such bad health. I only eat sweets. Now, what was to her, she was wondering with such good diet, why she keeps in good, bad health. To me, the diagnosis was in exactly the statement that she made. If she was living just on sweets, it was affecting her health badly. At times what we take to be beneficial and good turns out to be bad, so you have to be a bit careful with when there's a small crisis internationally. The Greek crisis, by the way, it's from this distance it's appearing small, it can blow up, but it's right now with the Europeans putting in money, it seems to be contained. What happens, and this is a problem we have to contend with, is capital, money, people they are investing in banks, they begin to feel insecure about the European stock markets, banks, etc. They look for safe havens. The newly emerging countries of Asia are doing very well, so money begins to flow into Asia. And actually India has been getting a lot of money, not just the Greek crisis, but over the last 1 year, $43 billion have come into India, foreign capital, of which $29 billion is into our stock markets, international money coming into our stock markets, because India is being considered a good safe haven to put your money in. This is a good thing. When so much money comes, it gives you opportunities to do things. But it's a bit like a sugar overdose. You have to be careful. It can have a certain kinds of effects which the country has to deal with. When so much dollars come into the country, what happens is the value of the rupee begins to rise. Rupee appreciates. And we know that over the last year, March 2009 to March 2010, vis-a-vis the dollar, the rupee has appreciated by 12.6%. Vis-a-vis the euro, the rupee has appreciated same period, March 2009 to 2010, by 8.3%. Actually, I'm sure over the last month it's appreciated even more vis-a-vis the euro, because the euro has been further losing value. When the rupee becomes stronger like this, our exports begin to get affected because Indian prices have gone up by that much amount vis-a-vis the world. So that's one problem. You'll have to think of ways of tackling this problem. But there's another problem when money comes in a large flow into our country, is there is a bit of a risk of an outflow. The outflow happens, and it has happened in the past even with India. 2007-8, there was a huge inflow of money. After that, a huge outflow of money. What happens is if a global crisis becomes even bigger, people begin to feel so insecure with stock markets in general. This is almost a psychology of human beings. They no longer look for safe havens for putting money in their stock markets. They pull money out of stock markets altogether. So there is a bit of a risk that with entire Europe now almost tying up their fate with the Greek crisis, if Europe goes down into a major crisis, it blows up. There will be a general feeling of insecurity with money that you sent to distant places. We could potentially see an outflow of the money that has come out, which is going to cause an exchange rate fluctuation. The rupee goes up and then it comes down because the money flows out.